Every day I run into musicians who tell me that in order to be successful, you have to eat, breathe, and sleep your music 24/7, tour as much as possible, play gigs every weekend, work your butt off for a few $100 and do that for 15 years or so, and if you're lucky, maybe someone will notice you. And in the meantime, be content with being broke too. I ended up doing the exact opposite of everything they told me to do. And what happened was it put the ball in my court where I was in complete control of how much I made. And within a very short amount of time, I was up to 6 figures a year without doing any of that stuff that we're supposed to do. My name is Leah McHenry, and I'm the founder of The Online Musician, and I'm an internationally acclaimed recording artist. And welcome to my brand new video series entitled Explode Your Fan Base. And in this first video, we're diving into a blueprint for creating a lucrative fan base. And this is going to immediately help you get discovered by the right fans, which is key, so that you can build a buzz and start making money with your music. Once you get this down, you're gonna start experiencing what it's like to be recognized around the world by raving fans, not just locally, and even what it's like to pay your mortgage and buy groceries with money you made directly from your music. So whether you're an experienced musician, but you aren't yet making a living from your music, or you're at ground zero and you don't have a plan to build a profitable fan base yet, stay with me because you're gonna see how talented musicians like you and me have a bigger opportunity than ever before to make it in the music industry right now, and why it's critical that you get your plan in place before you do anything else. Plus, I'm going to show you how to use social media to attract highly targeted superfans from all over the world so that you can expand your reach far beyond your local town. Now, the more you can focus on a specific type of fan base, the more engaged your fans will be. Now, we're not talking about vanity likes on Facebook from people who are never going to buy your stuff. I'm talking about committed, diehard fans who actually take action. They buy your music, they want to support you. But before we dig in, I have to warn you about one of these biggest myths in the industry that I come across every day, and it causes musicians to fail before they even start. So a large percentage of people that I talk to, they've bought into this idea that in order to be successful, they need a label. And then if they could just get signed, then they'll be famous and they're gonna have money and they're gonna have it made and all their dreams will come true. But this is a dangerous mindset. And quite frankly, it's a lie. Yeah, labels have their benefits for sure, but they are not nearly as influential in the world or necessary as they once were. And by the way, this is new stuff. This is recent history. Now let me quickly show you why with a quick list of pros and cons, how this has changed. As of right now, one of the pros is that they have the capital to invest in you up front. Although this is declining rapidly. Every single day, these big labels are going out of business, and now it's becoming about indie labels, and it's becoming about independent artists creating their own labels and putting out their own music. Also, one of the pros would be that they have a lot of contacts because they've been around for years and they can get you gigs and promotions and festivals, all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to tell you, everything has changed right now so that there's so many ways around that you do not need a label to achieve those things. Another thing is that they can get us a lot of exposure because some of these labels have a huge roster and they're filled with all these different genres. And that's fine, except that when you have a huge roster of genres, that means they're casting a really wide net to not a very specific audience. And one thing I've learned is that if your audience isn't totally dialed in, you will not make music sales. So yeah, some of those things can definitely be awesome for your music career, but there's also a few drawbacks as well, and I want you to consider these as we go through this. One of the cons is that the money a label invests in you is actually a loan that you have to pay back. It's just like a bank loan. And a lot of people don't consider that. They just think it's free money or something, that they're just gonna get this advance and then they're gonna be rich, and that's not the case. You have to pay that back before you start making money. A second thing is that You could be putting your heart and soul into your project, and the label might hear what you're working on and they don't like it. They don't like the direction you're going in, and you could lose your artistic freedom. I don't know about you, but I can't think of anything worse for me as an artist than being in music purgatory, being stuck like that. Another thing is that they do not always deliver on their promises. It is not always as good as you think it's going to be. I keep running into bands all the time who have been signed and they were like, oh my gosh, I got signed. This is like my dream come true. Only to find out a year later that they're not any further ahead in their music career. So it's not all sunshine and roses. And the last con that's really significant is that you are not going to make that much money when you're on a label. This is one of the biggest misconceptions. So for the average musician who wants to actually be in control of their art, do what they want, when they want, do things on their own terms, and have as much success as they want, labels are not the answer for you. I've been studying the music industry for a while now because I too am an independent artist, along with thousands of my students, and I make over 6 figures from my music sales. I mean real sales. And I don't have to answer to anyone. I get to call the shots. I know who likes my music, I know who doesn't like my music, and I promote directly to my audience online by myself. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with signing with a label. If that's what you want to do, go for it. But I'm just telling you, things have changed and that you do not have to do that in order to have success or in order to make a great living as a musician. And by the way, I want to tell you that most labels won't even look at you anyways unless you already have an established fan base already. So in either scenario, whether you want to get signed or you want to stay independent, in both cases, you need an existing audience that loves your music in order to have success. All right, so how are we going to make it without a label? Well, you and I both know that building a fan base is not as simple as people sometimes make it seem. It comes with some challenges. There's so many things going on at once for us, like, creating new music and figuring out social media, which is a beast in itself, finding time for live gigs, trying to create momentum from those shows, and all the while we've got life taking over, family and kids and bills and work and all of that. And it's hard to find time to get people interested in your music. And that's why I'm going to demystify the process of building an awesome fan base, which is going to save you a lot of time, it's going to save you money, and it's going to save you a lot of frustration. So in this first video, I'm going to share a system that I've developed after years of trial and error, which was painful. And it's called Explode Your Fan Base in the New Music Industry. And this system will serve as a tremendous resource for you to eliminate dead-end promotion ideas that everybody else is using. And instead, I'm going to give you a marketing plan that will build your fan base even while you sleep. So whether you're at ground zero and you're about to build your fan base from scratch, or you've got some fans, but you need more super fans so you can actually make a living from your music, either way, you're in the right place, because after video number 1, you're going to know how independent artists like me are making it in the new music industry. So I developed this framework because I see so many talented musicians, they're trying to spread their music, but they're focusing on all the wrong things. For example, I see new musicians trying to sell their music and they blast social media. They're begging people to like and comment and follow their stuff. They're like, buy my music, buy my music. And they do all that before they even know how to properly identify their ideal fan. They don't even know who they're marketing to. But they don't even have a legit marketing plan. And then I see seasoned musicians, they're trying to make a living from their music, but they're struggling because they only have one stream of income. They're only selling CDs, or they're only gigging on the weekends. And they don't have the 5 new streams of income set up. And so essentially they've got all their eggs in one basket and they're wondering, why are they struggling so much? I could go on, but I know that people need clarity, because in full transparency, I've made all of these mistakes already before I figured this stuff out. So before I dive into the Explode Your Fan Base blueprint and get into all the specifics of it, you might be wondering, how did I even get here? What brought me here to be teaching this to you? I didn't even begin to get serious about my music career until after I was married and I had a bunch of kids. So because of that, a part of me was a little bit bummed out. As much as I love my family and that was my dream come true, on the other hand, I kind of thought that my music dream that I always had since I was a kid would be gone, and that it was going to be just nothing more than a hobby in my basement. And little did I know that in a few years' time, I would have an international fan base. And being a mom of 5 kids, by the way, 5, I certainly did not fit the bill for what labels were looking for. I was past the ideal age that they were looking for. I didn't have, that superstar package that we all watched on MTV growing up. And not only that, but our family, we were a single income family. My husband worked a construction business and I stayed home with the little ones. And so I didn't have a bunch of money to promote with. I couldn't get my songs on radio. And I knew nothing about marketing. I had no idea what I was doing. But what happened was I started paying attention to what other successful marketers and business owners were doing online and the way they were connecting with specific people and creating new customers like overnight. And something in me knew that I need to do that. What they're doing, they're having this amazing success, they're connecting with people online. I need to do that in my music business. And so I need to know how to connect with the exact type of people who are already looking for my music. And so after wasting a lot of time, I spent a lot of money, I spent a lot of trial and error, I started to figure out the sweet spot for musicians. Once I dialed in my ideal audience and my marketing plan, I started seeing massive growth. But I'm not talking about irrelevant numbers on Facebook and Twitter, but real fans who ask me every day, Leah, where do I buy your music? I want to support you. Don't send me to iTunes. How can I pay you? And so now I'm making a comfortable 6 figures from my music every year from my music. And my fan base is growing every day from all over the world with people who truly love my music and they love it enough to support me directly, to pay for it instead of just trying to find it for free somewhere on the internet. Let me tell you, my life is so much different now. It's so much better. And I don't consider myself a superstar by any stretch of the imagination. I'm a real human, I'm a mom, but I am living the dream. This is the dream. I can provide comfortably for my family without needing a side job. My husband was actually able to quit his construction job and work with me on my music business because now we have that fan base that wants more. They're dedicated and loyal and they want more from me. And they're willing to support me to do it. They're willing to actually pay for it. So for us, that means no more living paycheck to paycheck. No more finding time for music after everything else. No more hoping that one day I'll be discovered and finally make it. By our definition, we've freaking made it. I love it. And remember, I don't tour. I do not tour, and I've never done a tour. If you want to tour though, that's great. I think it's an amazing aspect to add. But in this new music industry, it's not a requirement, which by the way is the first time in the history of music that's even been possible. But this story doesn't stop with me. Everything I'm about to share with you is the exact plan I followed to create a tribe of superfans who keep building a buzz about my music around the clock. And it's that plan that led me to make a living from my music and focus on my passion, which for me, that's my family. And it's also sharing this knowledge with you. And that means I'm putting out my best possible work. I'm touching lives around the world, and that is an amazing feeling. And that's what I want for you. And you would be watching this if you weren't serious about your music, if you weren't talented. Most of those people, they're long gone by now. And that's why I want to make things easy for you. The purpose of this blueprint is to help you quickly overcome what I call the needle in the haystack syndrome, which is basically we're getting buried alive in the internet and nobody can find us because there's so much stuff out there. And I want you to overcome that so that you can experience these brand new fans, get recognition that your music deserves around the world, and ultimately music sales. So to get started, I created a simple PDF to help you keep notes and to provide you even more value from this training. I want you to get the most out of this. So you're gonna see the download link somewhere on this page, and all you have to do, just hit pause on this video, and once you've downloaded it and you're ready, we'll begin. So I'm just gonna stop right here and I'll wait for you and we'll continue. All right, so before we go on, I need to preface this training with something really important. And that's an observation that I've made and that I've learned about. And it's the 98% versus the 2% of the population. 98% of people hear really good information and they know it's good and they know, gosh, I need to be doing that. But for whatever reason, they never do anything about it. Versus the other 2%, they hear the same thing. And instead of thinking to themselves, that's really amazing information, and going on with life, they implement what they hear. And that small 2% of the population, they're the ones that get the results. The only difference between those two groups of people is one group of people takes action. The other one just thinks about it. So before we go on, I really want to save you time. I'm saving myself time. And I want you to decide right now, which one are you? Which group are you going to fall into? Are you in the 98% or are you in the 2%? This is a really important decision for you to make right now before we go on. It's going to totally affect the results that you get out of this training. So if you've decided that you're a 2%er, let's dig into this. So as we go through each part of this system, I want you to identify the obvious areas of opportunity for your current situation. Everybody's in a different situation, so look at where you're at. And if you're ready, let's get started. Okay, I want to talk to you about the old music industry versus the new music industry. So much has changed and it's all changing really fast. So the old music industry was all about the live show. It was all about the one-hit wonder. And a lot of this involved labels who controlled what was popular and basically the entire market. And this also included radio play. All of that tied in together. And that's what the old music industry really revolved around. Now, in this new music industry, in the age of the digital era, radio, as you know, is becoming obsolete. And it's streaming that's taking over. What do we do about that? There's also subscription services that are replacing things like one-time CD purchases. That's a new thing. Also, indie bands have more opportunity than ever because of this ability to be found by a global audience online. That's never happened before. And so the old music industry was all about building a local following. And then if you succeeded in that, you would move to a regional following, and then you would build a national following, and if you were really lucky, maybe an international following. Well, all that has changed in the new music industry. And in fact, I did things completely backwards and completely against the advice of everybody in the industry. This stay-at-home mom with a bunch of kids gained her first superfans in Europe from home, literally in my pajamas. And I went international and national before I went local. Talk about backwards. In fact, I still don't have what some people consider a local following because my style of music, my little genre, appeals to certain kinds of fans in certain areas of the world. And I was able to identify that. I was able to hone in on it and then capitalize on it. That's what made me so successful as a stay-at-home mom from my house. And so to succeed in this new music industry means only one thing. And if you take nothing else away, I want you to remember this, that to be successful means that you have a small but loyal group of die-hard fans who follow you. And those people will buy anything you create. And I call this my micro niche. A micro niche is a very specific subgenre within a bigger umbrella genre. And I want you to think about this. You can be either a small fish in a large pond, or you can be a large fish in a small pond. Let that sink in for a minute. And you're not giving up anything by getting really clear about your micro niche. You'll still be part of your umbrella genre. You're still going to appeal to that broader audience, but you're going to stand out. And that's our biggest problem is the fact that we just get buried in the internet. Standing out is your greatest challenge. And by having a micro niche, it makes it really easy for those fans who are already looking for your kind of music to find you, so that you don't have to keep touring and touring and like shaking a million hands and like physically having to be present in order to build an audience. And that's the way I've been doing this. And in fact, I am completely reverse engineering my touring plan. I'm building a global audience so that I can go on tour, and I'm going to play out to sold out shows. That's my plan. And while we're on the topic of touring, I keep reading all these articles lately about how little money bands are making on tour. And it's kind of sad. Even mid-sized bands on labels, they're even having trouble paying their bills. Because at the end of the day, the majority of bands are in the red. It costs a lot of money. Touring is very expensive, even when you budget. And especially if you have a band and you're having to split the profit 5 ways between all these band members, it's very difficult to pay your rent on a regular basis when you're having to do that. So I say all that to let you know that this is an exciting time for people in every demographic, old and young. Pretty much everybody who has talent and has good music has an opportunity. From what I have observed and in my studies, I've found that there's actually a market for every kind of music out there. Every kind of music is wanted, even obscure, even bizarre music. The right market, there's the right people waiting to find it. And so you've got to do things right, though, to seize this opportunity to connect with the right fans who are already looking for that music. You can't just wing it. You can't just throw it up on YouTube. That won't work. In the new music industry, it's all about leverage, leveraging both our time and our talent. And we do that by making passive income. And there's 5 ways to do that. And there's actually more than that, but I only teach what has directly affected my bank account because I know that it's realistic. So the idea is not to put all of our eggs in one basket. Any business owner will tell you this, but for some reason, we don't think about it in our music careers. And so here are the 5 that are most relevant. They're going to give you the most impact. Number 1 is physical merchandise. And you need to think through this for a second. Who buys merch? It's not just some random person off the street. It's a super fan. And a super fan is somebody who wants a continued experience with you. They want to feel like they know you, like they're close to you, and that they can recreate that experience time and time again. That's why when people go to concerts, they buy the t-shirt. They want to remember that experience that they just had, and they want to remember it time and time again, so they buy the t-shirt. That's why we want super fans. That is a significant source of income for us, is through physical merchandise from our super fans. The second stream of income is through digital sales. Now I'm talking iTunes and Amazon and all the money we make through our digital distribution platforms, like there's CD Baby and TuneCore and lots of other great companies out there. The third way is through our publishing royalties. And this includes performance rights organizations like ASCAP in the US and SOCAN in Canada, and there's BMI and Sound Exchange and a number of these different companies that do a good job at collecting songwriting royalties, sync publishing, and a variety of different things. And we want to make sure that we're covering our bases there. The fourth way is through monetizing your knowledge and your experience. What's become really popular right now is actually giving Skype lessons. I'm actually taking Skype lessons right now for vocals. I'm paying somebody money and they are teaching me how to increase my skill in my singing. And this is a legitimate way to monetize your knowledge and experience. You don't need a Harvard degree for this. You just need to be a little bit further down the road than somebody else to be able to help them. And so, we're talking about making a living doing what you're good at. And so sometimes it involves thinking a little bit outside of the box, and this is a legitimate way. It's becoming increasingly popular. And a fifth way to monetize your music is through virtual fan clubs. Now it's funny because fan clubs, it's not a new thing, it's an old thing, but we're doing them in new ways right now. We're exploring this landscape, and the types of experiences we can give our fans online is changing. And so there's different platforms now coming out that make creating a sustainable income more realistic. There's platforms like Patreon and Bandcamp. And there's even membership type websites and private Facebook groups. There's a variety of options that we have. And I'm really excited. I think that this is a huge future for us as independent artists and musicians, in a way that our fans really want to get that close up, hands-on experience with us, and we can continue to deliver value and content to them. Now, add on top of all of those things, email and social marketing. And oh my gosh, you are now doing more than 99% of musicians out there. If you do those things that I just described, that's going to give you the cutting edge over absolutely everybody else in your genre. You're going to be way ahead. So to quickly recap, we know that there's at least 5 ways to make passive income from our music in the new music industry. Okay, let's just go over them real quick again. You've got physical merchandise, you've got digital sales, publishing royalties. You can monetize your knowledge and your experience, and you can create an amazing virtual fan club. With all these ways to make money, all we need are fans now to make it all come together. Because it's great if we have these different income streams, but unless we have eggs to put in the baskets are still empty. So we need superfans, okay? This is where your money is made. Now, just for fun, can you guess how many superfans you might need to really make a great living as a musician? I don't mean scraping by, I mean like full-time income from home and even without touring. All right, well, let's just make this really simple. We'll use a round number. And all you need is about 1,000 superfans to spend somewhere around $100 per year on you between those 5 things. Okay, let's split it up. And you're now making a 6-figure income, like $100,000 or more, that's insane. That was not possible 15 years ago, even 10 years ago, not possible. So how amazing is it that you could be a doctor or a dentist or something, but you're actually doing what you love. You're making the same living as someone who has a bunch of degrees, but you just got smart. You got smart and you decided, I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket and I'm going to diversify a little bit. And I mean, we could even change that number. You could change it to 500 superfans who spend $200 a year from you. And yes, they do spend that. I actually surveyed my fans and I said, hey guys, how much do you spend on concerts? And they actually told me they spend anywhere between $300 to $2,000 per concert that they attend, between flying there and driving out of state and VIP tickets and merchandise. I mean, it all adds up. So they are willing to spend that. So I have every confidence that this is very, very realistic and possible. And if you think about it, 1,000 is not a big number. Like, you do not need millions. You don't need hundreds or tens of thousands of fans. You just need 1,000. And hey, even if you only made $50,000 a year, or what if you only made $30,000 a year straight from your music? Would that be a bad thing? Would you be complaining about that? I sure didn't. When I made my first $30,000 a year, that was a game changer for my family. That changed things. It was amazing. So I love this. This is so doable. Stay-at-home mom can do it. You can do it. I love this. Get excited. Okay, so now that you're clear about the 5 ways that you can make money in the new music industry, the big question is, how do you find and attract these superfans to make it all work? I'll tell you, you need a marketing strategy. The biggest part of that is knowing, who are you marketing to? Nobody thinks about that stuff, but in other words, we call it your target audience. That's your superfans. You need to focus on quality over quantity. Everybody else does it the other way around. They want hundreds of millions of fans and then wonder why they don't get the music sales. But trust me when I say this, none of the stuff I mentioned above works if you don't have those superfans who want to spend the money on you. So you got to know this stuff. If you simply rely on old friends from high school and you're bugging them to come and like your page, or your mom or your relatives, let's face it, we love our friends and family, but they don't buy our music, right? And we're not going to make serious money that way anyways. Really, super fans are people that already like your kind of music, they're already looking for it, but they don't know you exist yet. You're not even on the map. They wish you were, but they don't know that yet. And so, hey, if you're not willing to do what it takes to find those fans, then I'll tell you right now, you just need to consider music a hobby, and that's fine. But if you're serious about attracting superfans so that you can make a comfortable living from your music, then you need to stick around for the next video, because that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to do. You're going to see how I use a very specific social media strategy to find and attract these superfans while I sleep. It's surreal when you start waking up to new likes on your Facebook page, like real ones. And you've got these emails in your inbox asking you, Leo, where can I buy your CD? But that isn't even the best part. I get messages like these every single day. This one is from a guy named Brian, and it's one of dozens that I get every single week. He's like, I recently discovered you and your music on Facebook. I was blown away by all the photos you got posted. That's way cool. And then I saw you had shared one of those tracks from Kings and Queens. Holy crap. I was so blown away with how great this music was. I went and bought the album from Amazon, and I've been playing it over and over ever since. Going on day 5 now, and I look forward to more amazing music and hopefully seeing you on tour at some point. Keep rocking. All right, if you don't know what a superfan looks like, this is it. This is a superfan. They literally see your music for the very first time and they're hooked and they buy it. And then he's like addicted to it, can't stop listening to it, sends me a message, and he's so excited that he can't wait for more, wants to spend more money. Leo, when do you have more music coming out? When can I see you live? That's a superfan, just so you know how to identify one. And I'm getting these types of messages on a weekly basis, sometimes daily basis. Getting these types of superfans is easy. I'm going to show you how in video 2. You'll also see how I raised over $27,000 through a crowdfunding campaign for an album, and I raised that from only 657 people, which is only possible because I knew who my superfans were. So I'm going to show you exactly how to get your own superfans in the next video. Hey, before we go today, I want you to leave me a comment below this video and tell me what most excites you about this video. Did the 5 ways of income inspire you to think outside of the box with your music? Maybe it's different than what you were told you could do. Are you excited about finding your superfans, or maybe it's finding your micro niche? I'd also love to know a little more about you. Tell me about where you're from and where you're at in your music career and what that looks like for you. How will life be different when you have a buzzing superfan base that craves your music and they actually want to support you financially? So leave a comment below and I promise I'm going to read every single one of them and I'll respond to as many as I can. And if you found this video useful, share it with your musician friends. They need to be encouraged. Everybody's telling them that you can't make money in the new music industry, and that's a lie, and now you know it. Now you can share it with them and be everybody's hero. So I'm sure they'll be glad that you thought of them. Just grab the link above and share it in your social networks and with your friends. Now that you know what is possible, how do you feel? How are you going to feel in a year from now if you actually start implementing this stuff right now? You said that you're a 2%er, so I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire and say, yeah, you're gonna implement this stuff and it's gonna be awesome. And sometimes it just takes someone to show you what's right in front of you and just give you that clear path. And it was the same way for me too. And all this stuff is available for you and it's waiting for you. You just have to be that 2%er who says, I'm gonna stop thinking about it and I'm gonna do it finally. So I encourage you, take this path, make time to watch the next video, because we're not stopping here. We're gonna go a step further. We're gonna go deeper. And so I hope that you feel inspired, that you leave today knowing that there's hope for your dreams. Don't give up on your dreams. It's not too late. You don't have to live with regret, and you can do this. And I'm so excited for you. So we'll see you in the next video.